Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear students, welcome back to the intermediate accounting class. Dear students, our today discussion is about the general journal, how we can record transaction in general journal. So we will discuss about it, and we will use all the steps or all the principle are the rules for debiting and crediting the transaction or account. So dear students, our today discussion is regarding transaction in general journal. This is our today topic, and let's to explain about it. If you remember, dear students, we have the standard format of general journal is having 5 columns. The first column is the date column, and in date we will record all those transactions on daily basis that we held within the company or within the enterprise. The second column is for the description. Remember our earlier discussion about the general journal. So over there we explain that we have explained that in description column we will record the names of transaction along with the small explanation of the transaction. And then we have the third column, which is about the ledger folio. So ledger folio, also called the reference number. Dear students, we will fill this column when we are making our preparing the ledger accounts. When we classified all the business transaction, so we will record the page number or the reference number over here in this column. And then we have 2 other column, which is for debit, recording transaction in the debit side, and also recording transaction on the credit side. These are the 2 different columns that we will record the amount of money of all the accounts that we held within the business at the debit side or at the credit side. Let's to start from the beginning, and let's to take like for example a transaction. This is January 1st, and a person by the name of Ditman, he start a business, and his business, he is for example providing cash to the business, one thing. Second, he will start his business with furniture which have a cost of $10,000, and also he will purchase like for example machinery to towards the business for a cost of $50,000. Dear students, so how we can show that how many transaction is available in this, how many accounts are available in this transaction, one thing. And second, the relevant family of all these transaction, we will find the relevant family of all these transaction, and then we will find that is this transaction having like for example is this transaction increased or decreased. So when we found all these things, then we will we will make sure that we will record this transaction at the right place. We will follow the rules of debit and credit, and we will record the same transaction at the debit column. So let's to have a small example of an enterprise. Consider that this is like for example a business. This is a business, and what happened in this business? So dear students, let's to explain about it. In this business, like for example the cash account increased. Also dear students, along with this the furniture account also increased, furniture. And also dear students, the machinery account also increased. Machinery. So keep in mind, dear students, that this cash, furniture and machinery has been invested by Deedman. So when Deedman is investing, this means that it has a capital. So this is the Deedman capital or investment amount. So Deedman is a person who invested cash and furniture and machinery in the business. So see, dear students, the cash, the furniture and the machinery, these three are, like for example, we may say that these are an asset account. Cash is asset account, furniture is the business asset, and machinery is also asset. So we will find, like for example, we will explain that these three, the cash, the machinery and furniture, these three are the assets account. So I will write down over here that it is an asset account. These are the business assets. So see, but Deedman capital, if you see over here, Deedman capital, this one, this. So this is a person who invested his capital in the business. So his account is the O.E, yani owner equity. In other words, we may say the capital account. So we found two things in this transaction. One, we found cash, we found furniture, and we found machinery. That these are the three accounts from one family, which are called the asset family. But all these three accounts has been invested by Deedman, and it is the Deedman capital. So Deedman capital is having relationship with the owner equity account. So now, dear students, our next step is we should understand that is these account increased or decreased within the business. So let's see. If you see over here, this is like, for example, consider that this is A, B, C, Co, any company. So if you see the ABC company structure, so if you see this drop box, so what happened in this ABC company? Cash, furniture and machinery has invested by whom? Deedman. So this means that in this business, the cash account, the furniture account and the machinery account, which is having relationship with the asset account, increased. Along with this, the Deedman capital has also increased, which are the owner equity account. It has also increased. So increase in asset should be recorded at the debit side. So we can call it the DR, yani debit record. But increase in owner equity that we have over here, increase in owner equity, see over here, increase in owner equity as the credit record, and we should record that at the credit side. So we understand about all the accounts. Now we will, like for example, record these accounts into general journal. So dear students, if I go in a bit detail, so see what happened. The Deedman started business, so we brought Deedman account over here. But he started business with cash, so we put the cash over here. Along with cash, he invested furniture in the business, and along with this furniture, he also started business with machinery. So the cash, furniture and machinery, all of these three are in asset account. The asset account increased within the business, so we will record this at the debit side. And the Deadman capital, which is an equity account, had also increased, so we will record it at the credit side. Okay, good. Now let's to record these three transactions, these three accounts which are having relationship with asset, and one another account which is having relationship with the equity. Let's to record that at the general journal. So dear students, this transaction has been happened at January 1st. So our first job is to record transaction within the date or within the specified time. So the time for this transaction was January 1st. So we will record the transaction on January 1st. So what happened at January 1st? So dear students, the Deadman invested cash, one thing. Second, the Deadman invested furniture. And third, the Deadman invested machinery. So the cash, furniture and machinery has been invested by whom? By Deadman. So we may say that it is the Deadman capital. So see dear students, we have an increase in cash, we have an increase in furniture, we have an increase in machinery. So this is a debit record. So that's why when you are recording transaction in general journal, so please record the debit accounts close to this line and record the credit account close to this one line. So in other words, record the debit accounts in the description column close to the left hand line, and record the credit accounts close to the right hand line in description column. Now dear students, we will record the amount of all these accounts, like how much was the amount of cash which has been invested by Deadman. So if you see, that was equal to 50,000 rupees, 50,000 AFN, or we may say $50,000. Second, the Deadman invested in furniture. So his furniture cost was equal to $10,000. And also the Deadman invested his capital in machinery. The machinery cost towards the business was $50,000. So in simple, we may say that cash which has been invested, furniture which has been invested, and machinery which has been invested by Deadman, all of these had a cost of how much dollar or how many dollar? So we may say 50 plus 10, 60 plus 50 is equal to 110,000. So this is the total investment or the total amount of money which has been invested by Deadman in this business. So for the simplicity purpose, you can write down over here that all of these account is in dollars. So put the dollar sign over here, as I put in the debit column, and also I will put the dollar sign at the credit column. So dear students, if you see over here, we mentioned in our earlier discussion that we will record all the debit account at the debit column and all the credit accounts at the credit column. So if you see, the cash, the furniture and the machinery, all of these were increase in asset, and increase in asset should be recorded at the debit side. But we also have the invested capital from deedman. So deedman investment is a credit record because it has also increased. His capital also increased within the business. An increase in deedman capital is a credit record. So we should record that at the credit column. So dear students, I hope that you have understand that how we will record the transaction into general journal. Okay, now if you remember, we mentioned in our earlier discussion that we should give us very short explanation for these transactions which are available in the description column. So now I will give a short explanation to all these transactions available at the description column. So I can say the deedman started business. So how he started his business? He started his business with cash, with furniture and machinery. So we can say that it is the record for the first transaction of the business. Now dear students, we will record the second transaction of this business. So let's record the second transaction. The second transaction has been held on January 5. This transaction has been held at January 5. So what we will do, we will write down the January 5 at the date column. So this is date and we can say that it is January 5. So if you see over here, we have the date in this transaction. So we have taken this date from here and from this transaction, which is January 5, and we recorded that at the general journal first column, which are the date column. Now what we will do, dear students, let's find the accounts in this transaction. So at January 5, what happened? The deedman, like for example, paid the business rent. The business rent has been paid. So let's say that rent is an account and he paid the amount of this rent. Rent of what? Rent of building, which it was the cost of this building rent was 6,000. Along with this, the deedman paid the salaries, which had a cost of $20,000 towards the business, and also he used the office supplies for $1,000. So see, if you see over here, so in this transaction, some of the account has been held. Let's record or let's explain this account one by one. What happened? So the person paid rent expenses, paid. One thing. Second, what he have done? He paid the salaries. Salaries. And also he used the supplies. So all of these are the expenses account: the rent, the salaries and the supplies. So when he is paying rent, actually he paid, like for example, cash. When the deedman is paying salaries, so this means that he paid all these salaries through cash. And supplies expenses, so the deedman used the office supplies, and these office supplies has been purchased through cash. So dear students, if you see, the office rent expenses, the salary expenses and supply expenses is having relationship with the expenses account. Which one account? The expenses account of the business. So it is the accounts of expenses, but these expenses has been paid through cash, and cash is an asset account. Which one account? Cash is an asset account. So we may say that in this business the expenses account, which are these three, rent, salaries and supplies, all of these account has been increased, but at the same time the cash account excuse me, the cash account has been decreased. So dear student, if you remember the rules for debiting and crediting, so increase in expenses should be recorded at the debit side. So it is a debit record and we will record it as at the debit column. But decrease in asset should be recorded at the credit side. So now we will record at the credit side of the business. So if you see that this table, or this, like for example metric, this is a business and three activities happen in this business. Rent has been paid, salary is paid, and supplies expenses occurred. Rent expenses occurred, salary expenses occurred, and supplies expenses occurred. So all of these is having relationship with the expenses account, and these expenses has been increased within the business, upon the business. That's why we will record that at the debit side. But at the same time, cash has been paid for all these expenses. So cash is an asset account and our asset has been decreased, so we will record it at the credit side. Now what we will do, we will go towards the description column. And what we will do in the description column, we will record these rent expenses, these salary expenses and supplies expenses, all of these three expenses at the description column. So let's do record all these three expenses at the description column. So our first expenses that we will pay for the business is the, like for example, rent expenses. So we will record rent expenses. Our second expenses is about the salaries expenses, and the third expenses is about the supplies expenses. All of these three expenses has been paid through what? Through cash. So see dear students, rent, salaries and supplies, these rent, salaries and supplies, these three is the expenses account, and all of these three has increased within the business. So we will record it at the debit side. We will have a very good record for it. And cash, which is an asset account, an decrease in asset, these expenses has been paid through cash. So this means that cash has been decreased within the business. So decrease in cash should be recorded at the credit side. So let's record all of these transactions in the debit and also at the credit side of the business. So the first, how much was the cost of rent expenses? So dear students, the rent expenses for the building was $6,000. So $6,000. The rent expenses for the salary expenses for the business were $20,000. And the office supplies which has been used during the business is having a cost of $1,000. So for all these three, the business paid what? These three, if you see over here. So the business paid cash. So we will record the cash over here, the cash amount that we paid for all these three transactions. So in simple we may say that 6,000 plus 20,000 is 26,000 plus 1,000 is equal to 10,000. So now we will 27,000. Now we will write down over here that the deed man, the business paid 27,000 rupees for all these three accounts, for all the aforementioned accounts. Okay, great. So after doing these activities, we will write down a small description for all these accounts. So we may say paid the rent, salaries and supplies expenses paid. So you can record in this way. Good. So this is what we may say the small description about the transaction. Now let's do record. Okay, so I hope that you have understand. Again I will explain a bit about this transaction. See, this is January 5, so we have recorded at the date column. Good. What happened? The business paid rent, so rent expenses occurred. So we have recorded at the description column about rent expenses. And we also paid salaries, so we have recorded at the description column about salary expenses. And we used the office supplies, so we have recorded about the office supplies. So all of these are the expenses account. An increase in expenses should be recorded at the debit side. So that's why we recorded 6,000 for rent, 20,000 for salaries and 1,000 for supplies. But all of these three has been paid. So paid is always through cash. Payment is always through cash. So the business paid cash for all these transactions, for all these accounts. When we edit all these three accounts, so the total sum of all these accounts were equal to 27,000. So that's why we recorded 27,000 at the credit side, because it is a decrease in the asset account. Okay, great, dear student. I hope that you have understand about it. Now we will move toward the another account, which is the another transaction, which is the January 22. So now, before going towards the general journal records, first of all we should analyze the transaction. So this is the date of the transaction, which are January 22. On January 22, what happened? The business sold the goods. So good has been sold, but keep in mind that this is not on cash, but it is on credit. Yani mean we have receivable from G-Man person and Juni Brau. So we sold goods on G-Man and also Juni Brau and to Deadman. So 3 person has purchased goods from the company and the company sold goods upon them. So let's to record these 3 transactions into general journal. If you are interested, so once again I will here I will draw about a chart, small one, and I will explain you about the 3 things which has happened in this business, are the 3 accounts. See, the business sold the goods. So the goods has been sold. Yanis sale activities, sale has been occurred, sale of the goods. So we may say that the sale has been occurred within the business, and sale is an account of income, revenue. Now upon whom the business has sold the goods. So the business has sold the goods upon the G-man, but these goods is on credit. So credit is account receivable for business. The business sold the goods upon Junibrow, GOHNYBRAVO, but upon him is also on credit, and a business will receive this money in an upcoming date. And the business also sold goods to deadman, to deadman person, and upon him is also on credit. He sold the goods on credit. So dear students, these three, the G-man, the Junibrow and deadman, if you see over here, so we have, like, for example, account receivable, and account receivable from all these three persons, from all these account receivable from G-man, account receivable from Juni, and account receivable from deadman. Dear students, account receivable is an asset account. It is an asset account. So assets, it is an asset account. If you see in this business, so upon G-man, upon Juni, and upon deadman, our receivable has been increased from G-man, from Junibrow, and from deadman, and it is an increase in asset of the business. It is an increase in assets of the business. So increase in asset of the business should be recorded at the debit side. It is a debit record for the business, so we will record this at the debit side. But at the same time, the business sale has also increased. The business sale has also increased. An increase in sale is, like, for example, a credit record. So we should record that at the credit side. So I will write down that it is in a credit account, and we will record at the credit side of the general journal. So I hope so, dear students, that you have understand that increase in assets should be debited and increase in sale should be credited. Now let's to record this transaction into general journal. So first of all, we will write down the date. This is January 22. This is January 22. This transaction has been held at January 22. Okay, good. January 22. So what happened on January 22? The business sold the goods. Any business sale has been increased of the business. Business sale has increased. So the business sold the goods. Okay. How the business sold the goods? So the business sold these goods on credit. And from whom he will receive the money? From G-man. They have the receivable. They will receive this money. From the Junibrow, business will have receivables, and also from the deadman, the business will receive the money. So all of these three is the asset account, an increase in assets should be recorded at the debit side. And the sale is an asset is a revenue or income account, and we will record increase in income and increase in revenue at the credit side according the rules of the accounting. So let's to record the amount of this transaction. So how much dollars the company will receive from G-Man? So it is clear that company will receive 5,000 from G-Man. Okay, good. And at the same time they will receive 20,000 from Unibrav, 2,000 sorry, and 10,000 from the Deetman, 10,000 rupees from Deetman. So all of these three, this one, this and this, is the, if we sum all of these, so it will give us the total sale of the business. So the total sale of the business is equal to 5,000 plus 2,000, 7,000 plus 10,000 is equal to 17,000 rupees. So 17,000 rupees is the total sale of the company, but this sale is on credit. So company will receive the credit from G-Man, from Unibrav, and from Deetman. So here again we will write down the short description. Sold goods on credit. So the company sold goods on credit. Okay, so if you see again, dear students, so you will easily understand that on January 22 we have a transaction. This transaction we sold the goods. So sold is over there, but this sale is on credit. So on credit to G-Man. So this means that we will receive from G-Man in the future date. This credit sale was upon the Unibrav, and it was also it is receivable of the business. And also we have, like for example, receivable from the Deetman. So dear students, if you understand, okay dear students, so now you have understand about this these accounts or this transaction too. Now let's to record the January 25 transaction in the general journal. So if you see over here, this is January 25, and on January 25 what happened? So the author or the in this business, what happened? $5,000 and $6,000 were payable to Beery and Unibrav. So this means that these were the payable of the business to Unibrav and to the Beery, and payments were made, and they have paid to this person. So again, let's to have a business. Consider that this is a business, like for example the ABC Enterprise. What happened in this business? So in this business, the company paid cash to whom? To two person. One to Beery, Berry, Beery, and second to the Unibrav, to the Unibrav. So dear students, if you see over here, to Beery the company were liable to pay, so it was an account payable account. So that's why we may say that it was account payable to Beery, and also we have account payable to G-Brav. So these were two companies. For both of these company we have payables. So the company paid them. So payment is through cash, and these were the liabilities of the company. So what happened? If you see over here, the liability of the company, liabilities of the company decreased. So within the business, the account has, and these two account has decreased. The company paid money to Juni Brave and to the Biri, and along with this the cash account also decreased, and the cash account is an asset account. It is asset of the business. So at the same time, assets decreased, and decrease in assets should be recorded at the credit side, but decrease in liabilities should be recorded at the debit side of the general journal. So these two accounts should be debited, and the cash account, which is an asset account, it should be credited because it has decreased. So let's to record these things into general journal. This is January 25. The company paid cash, so cash decreased. So let's to record cash. But to whom they paid the cash? To their creditors, from whom they purchased the goods. They are Biri. So the company paid to Biri and their accounts payable, and also the company paid to the Juni Brave account payables. So dear students, decrease in liability should be debited. So we will record it at the debit side of the business, and that were equal to 5,000 rupees. And at the same time, company paid $6,000 to the Juni Brave. So we will record it at the debit side. So company paid these liabilities, so both of them should be added, and we will record it at the credit side. So when we add 5,000 plus 6,000, it is equal to 11,000 rupees. So we will write down a short description for this transaction, and short description is paid liabilities to creditors. So the company paid their liabilities from whom they purchased the goods, and simple you can write down paid liabilities. Liabilities made paid. So now dear students, see what happened over here. So if you see on 25 January we have a transaction, so we recorded 25 over here at the date column. Okay, then what happened? The company paid to whom? To Juni, to Biri, and also the company paid to Juni Brave, to 2 person. What they paid? They paid cash of 5,000 and also the cash of 6,000. When we added both of these cash, it were equal to 11,000. So cash is an asset account. Cash is an asset account, and decrease in assets should be recorded at the credit side. But account payable is a liability account, and decrease in liability should be recorded at the debit side. So we record decrease in the debit side, which were 5,000 and 6,000, and we recorded the decrease in asset, which were equivalent to 11,000. How it is equal to 11,000? We added both 5,000 plus 6,000, it were equivalent to 11,000. So dear students, this was a record for the January 25 transaction. Okay, good. Now we will record the January 26 transaction. If you see over here, we have one another transaction on January 26. On January 26, the company purchased goods. And also they purchased machinery for cash. Both of these things is through cash. Mean the company purchased goods through cash, and also they purchased machinery through cash. The amount for these goods that they purchased were 5,000, and the amount of money for the machinery were equal to 40,000. So let's have, like, for example, consider a chart and consider that it is a business. What happened in this business? Two things increased. Goods increased in the inventory, and also the machinery also increased. Machinery increased within the business. But these two things occur to the business through cash, and these were purchased through cash. So if you see over here, goods and machinery is an asset account. It is an asset account, both of them. Goods and machinery is the assets, but cash is also asset. Cash is also an asset account. It is an asset account. So dear students, what happened? The goods and machinery, which are the two accounts of the business, goods and machinery, and these two are the asset account. Goods is inventory and machinery is fixed asset. So inventory is current assets and machinery is fixed asset. So both of these assets account has increased within the business. And another side, these two things, which are the machinery and goods, it has purchased through cash. So this means that cash is an asset account, and asset of the business has decreased. So dear students, increase in asset should be debited. So it is a debit record, and decrease in asset should be credited. So we will record cash at the credit column, and we will record goods and machinery increase in these two at the debit side. Let's do record. This is January 22. This is January 26. So what happened at January 26? At January 26, the company purchased goods. We can also record it as a purchases, but purchases is an expense account, but goods is, and within the perpetual system of account, goods is in an inventory account, and we can record it as an asset. But if you record purchases, you will record that as an expenses account. So goods is asset, and also machinery is an asset account. So these two has increased, but what has been decreased? The cash of the business has been decreased. So the amount of the goods were equal to how much dollars? Amount of goods were equal to $5,000, but amount of machinery were equal to $40,000. So when we add both of these, machinery and goods, so the total sum of these account is equal to $45,000. $45,000. So we will write down a small description for it. So small description is, like, for example, we may say purchased goods and machinery on cash. So simply we may write down the description. Dear students, keep in mind, do not write down your description at the leisure column. But now this is because of shortage of time, I have, like for example, extracted towards the ledger column. So purchase of goods and machine, purchase goods and machinery on cash or through cash. So we have recorded this transaction. For your further or for your more clarification, see, this is January 26. So on January 26 we purchase two things. We purchase goods and also we purchase machinery. So the amount of goods were 5,000 and the amount of machinery were 40,000. This was the amount of goods, machinery, and this was the amount of goods. So when we added both of the amount, and the amount of goods and the amount of machinery, so it were equal to 45,000 as a cash. So we paid 45,000 cash for purchasing of goods and machinery. So goods and machinery is an asset account. So asset increased within the business, we record it at the debit column. But cash has been decreased within the business, that's why we record it at the credit column. Okay, great. And now we will record the final transaction of the business, which has occurred at January 28. So what happened at January 28? The company received commission, one thing, and also dividend of 9,000. So the company received commission of $600 and the dividend of $9,000. Dear students, let's to have a business chart. Consider that this is a business. What happened in this business? So within this business, okay dear students, so the last transaction has been held on January 28. Two account has increased and two account, we will record now these two accounts, that what happened to these two accounts. So see dear students, the first account was the company received commission. So commission is the, like for example, revenue account. So company received commission and also the company received dividend, but both of them is as a cash. They received the commission as a cash and also they received the dividend as a cash. So see dear student, commission and dividend are the, both of them are revenue account. What type of account is it? It is the income. Yeah, in other words we may say the revenue account. Okay, good. And cash is an asset account. So what happened to these accounts? The asset account, which are the cash account, it has increased. So the cash account has increased. And what about the other two accounts? The other two accounts, which are the commission and dividend account, it has also increased. So dear students, according the law, the rules of debit and credit, increase in assets should be debited. So we will record it at the debit side. But increase in income should be credited. So dear students, we will record commission and dividend at the credit side and cash at the debit side. So let's do record. This is January 28. What happened at January 28? Cash account of the business increased. It is a debit record. But at the same time, the business received commission, and commission is revenue account. Along with this, it also received dividend. So dividend is also an income account. So increase in income should be credited and increase in cash should be debited. The total commission that the company received were equal to 600 rupees. $600. And the total dividend that the company received were equal to $9,000. So when we add both of these, this is an increase in the business cash account. So increase of the business cash account is $9,600. So dear students, now we will write down a small description for it. The company received commission and dividend. So company received commission and dividend. So this is short explanation for this transaction. And finally, what you will do, we will make, like for example, the total of all these accounts. So here we will sum of the debit side and also sum of the credit side. So if you see over here, dear students, we have, like for example, 1,10,000 over here and 127,000 over here. This is equal to 1,37,000. And then we will have, like for example, 1,29,000, 1 lakh, and when we add this 1,34,000, 1,44,000, 1,49,000, and then 1,55,000, and then 1,50,000, 1,90,000, and 1,99,600. So this is $1,99,600, and at the same time we should have $1,99,600. This is the total for all these transactions. So dear students, I hope that you have understand that how to record transaction into general journal. دا چې د موږ سره د جنرال جورنال سټنډرډ فارمیټ دی، په کوم کې چې موږ د ډیټ کالم لرو، ډسکرپشن یا د تفصیلاتو یا توضیحاتو کالم لرو، لیجر فولیو لرو، ډیبټ ریکارډ او کریډټ ریکارډ 5 کالمونه لرو. نو دلته څه ټرانزیکشن موږ لرل چې موږ غوښتل چې هغه په جنرال جورنال کې ریکارډ کړو. که چېرته موږ د اولنۍ ټرانزیکشن ته وګورو چې هغه په جنوري 1 باندې شوی دی، نو په دې کې موږ ته وایي چې did man started business with cash 50,000, furniture 10,000, and machinery 50,000. So in this transaction you may find 4 accounts: the cash account, the furniture account, and machinery account. تاسو دا سلو ټرانزیکشن پکې وینئ چې کیش دلته سرمایه گذاري شوی دی، فرنیچر راغلی دی او مشینری. دا درې وړ چې د بزنس ته راغلي، دا د بزنس ایسټ دی. ایسټ زیاتوالی راغلی، نو زیاتوالی په ایسټ کې د اصولو مطابق ډیبټ ریکارډ دی. خو بل طرف ته د ډیډ مین په نوم باندې یو کس چې په دې بزنس کې سرمایه گذاري کړې ده، چې د هغه سرمایه گذاري باید څه شي د کریډټ سایډ کې، ځکه اونر ایکویټي کې انکریز راولي او انکریز په اونر ایکویټي کې باید په کریډټ سایډ کې ریکارډ شي. نو موږ دلته هماغسې ریکارډ کړل. په جنوري 5 کې چې دی کمپني د رنټ یا د کرایې مصارف ورکړي دي، د معاشونو مصارف ورکړي دي، او د دفتر کې چې کومه سپلایي په کار د هغې مصرف کړي ده. نو 3 قسم مصارف شوي چې یو کرایه ده، یو معاشات دي، او بل طرف ته کرایه د آفیس سپلایز ده یا هغه توکي چې په دفتر کې استفاده کیږي. نو دا 3 وړ ایکسپنسز اکاونټ دی، او ایکسپنسز کې چې انکریز راځي یا اضافه والی راځي په بزنس کې، نو هغه باید ډیبټ شي. خو بل طرف ته د دې 3 وړ شیانو په بدل کې څه شی تللی دی، د لاس نه کیش آوټ شوی دی، او کیش چې دی ایسټ دی. ایسټ چې کله کمیږي هغه باید څه شي په کریډټ سایډ کې ریکارډ شي. Okay, then we have the January 22 transaction. نو بیا موږ د جنوري 22 ترانزیکشن لرو چې په هغې کې کمپني سول ګډس جنس خرڅ کړی دی، خو په قرض باندې. چاته ورکړی؟ جی مین ته ورکړی، جی مین او جونی براو ته ورکړی دی، او ډیډ مین ته. سو ګورئ، یو طرف ته پروشات شوي دي، خو بل طرف ته د پروشات په قرض باندې شوي او 3 کسان ته قرض ورکړل شوی چې جیمن دی، جونی براو دی ان ډیډمن دی. نو درې واړو نه چې د ریسیویبل لري فاینده کې او ریسیویبل چې دی هغه زموږ د بزنس ایسټس دي او ایسټ کې چې کله انکریز راځي یا باید ډیبټ سایډ کې ریکارډ شي. خو بل طرف ته موږ پروشات کړي او پروشات زموږ انکم یا ریونیو دا او ریونیو کې چې انکریز راځي یا باید په کریډټ سایډ کې ریکارډ شي. نو په هغه شکل باندې موږ د جی مین 15000 د جونی براو 2000 او د ډیډمن 1000 روپۍ چې ټوټلی 11000 کېږي په کریډټ کې ریکارډ کړي ایس اس ایل او بل طرف ته چې ریسیویبل دي د ایسټ په شکل باندې نو هغه موږ په ډیبټ کې ریکارډ کړل. اوکې ډیر سټوډنټ د جنوري 25 کې چې د 5000 and 6000 were payable to Biri and Juni Brau. سو مونږ چې د لایبیلیټي یا قرضې لرلې چې هغه بیری ته او جونی براو ته نو موږ هغه پرداخت کړلې یا ورمو کړلې. بیری ته مو 15000 روپۍ ورکړلې او جونی براو ته مو 6000 روپۍ ورکړې چې دواړه ایسه کیش مونږ پرداخت وکړلو. نو کیش چې دا بزنس ایسټ دی او په ایسټ کې چې کمی راځي یا کمښت راځي هغه باید په کریډټ کې ریکارډ شي. خو بل طرف ته لایبیلیټي یا قرضې چې کوم دي هغه قرضې دي او قرضو کې چې کله کمی راځي هغه باید په ډیبټ سایډ کې ریکارډ شي چې موږ په هغه شکل ریکارډ کړو. د دې څخه بعد چې د موږ سره د جنوري 27 ټرانزیکشن نو په هغه کې موږ جنس اخیسته دی، ماشینری مو اخیسته ده. نو ډیر سټوډنټس کوم پرپیچوال سیستم استفاده کوو نو ګډز باید اس ان ایسټ ریکارډ کړو. نو په هغه شکل موږ ګډز 15000 اس ان ایسټ ریکارډ کړو او ماشینری مو 30000 اس ان ایسټ چې فوفیکس ایسټ ریکارډ کړو. خو دواړه اخیستل شوي دي آن کیش په پول نقد باندې. سو د دې وجه موږ ویلی شو چې 15000 کیش او 30000 ماشینری 15000 ګډز او 30000 ماشینری نو ټوټل $15000 شلو چې مونږه 15000 کیش د لاسه ورکړی دی او ډیکریز په ایسټ کې باید کریډټ شي. خو بل طرف ته په بزنس کې ماشینری او ګډز اضافه شوي دي چې د بزنس ایسټ اضافه کړل او په ایسټ کې اضافه والی چې دی هغه باید څه شي په ډیبټ کې ریکارډ شي. and last transaction was about 28 تاریخ چې جنوري 28 موږ سره 28 د جنوري چې پاغه کې موږ دوه اکټیویټي یا دوه فعالیتونه کړي. یو طرف ته مو کمیشن لاس ته راوړی دی او بل طرف ته مو ډیویډنټ یا خپل د سهم کوم برخه چې موږ رسیږي هغه مو لاس ته راوړی دی د پروفیټ. نو کمیشن او ډیویډنټ دواړه چې دي د ریوینیو یا د عوایدو اکاونټونه دي یا حسابات دي خو دا مو ایسه کیش لاس ته راوړی. نو دیو جنا مونږه کمیشن په کریډټ کې ریکارډ کړو او همدارنګه ډیویډنډ مو هم په کریډټ سایډ کې ریکارډ کړل او په بدل کې مو کیش سکرولو ډیبټ ریکارډ کړلو. نو دوار کمیشن او ډیبټ سره کریډټ اکاونټ خو کیش مو سره ډیبټ اکاونټ شو. ځکه انکریز ان کیش از انکریز ان ایسټ دی او انکریز ان ایسټ چې دا باید په ډیبټ کې ریکارډ شي. خو بل طرف ته کمیشن کې اضافه والی چې راغلی یا اندازم په عوایدو کې اضافه والی راغلی همدارنګه ډیویډنډ چې موږ لاسته راوړي زموږ عواید اضافه شوي او انکریز ان ریوینیو یا انکریز ان انکم چې دی هغه باید کریډټ سایډ کې ریکارډ شي. په اخره کې تاسو باید د هرې میاشتې یا د هرې پیریډ چې تاسو د هغې لپاره جورنال جوړوئ نو هغه باید سم اپ شي ټول ټرانزیکشن او دواړه کالمونه باید یو د بل سره څه وکړي میچ وکړي. So dear students, I hope that you have understand about the today topic which was about the journal recording transaction into journal journal. So if you have any question, do not hesitate to note your question in your notebook and ask me in the university, or you can ask me through my WhatsApp number. So I am in your services. Thank you. I wish you a very happy day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.